next video in this series here is going to be covering kind of a special use case scenario where we have two users in our system that both log in, and the transform is going to transform their name into the same name. So in an instance, for instance, we've been using this username Peter YOO. Now let's assume for a second that Peter's, let's say his wife also works at the company, and she is Patty YOO. Okay, so her username is going to transform to the same PYOO. So that probably doesn't happen that often, but if there's two names that come through as the same, this is how we can get around it. So currently this is our log. I've added a few more logging items into my configuration in XML just to as troubleshooting for different things. I broke down what the whole subject is, but what we're trying to avoid are two users coming out at the end with this same username. Okay, so what we really need to do in order to make this work is to get the subject, okay, that's coming out of the certificate. In this case, when I look in this, and we'll talk about this debugging in a second, but when I look at this line right here, my subject is being evaluated to this really long line right here. So this is the important thing to take away. We're going to actually copy this entire subject, and we're going to use it in a file in the comp folder again. Okay, so this file is right here, called cert to user mapping, and if we open this file up, by default it just has these two dummy entries, but what this does is this right now is remarked out. If I move this line up a bit here, essentially this line here is what does the work. So what it does is it takes our subject of this user, so this is Peter's, and we're actually going to, instead of him logging in as PYOO, it's going to force him to be logged in as admin. Okay, so in this case, in another case, you would put Patty's entry here, and you would put her SBM login value. So it'd have to be different than PYOO, right? Because you can't have two with the same login name. So that's what this file does. It allows you to map a certain subject and to a specific user. And you'd probably only do this in very rare situations, usually when two names are going to be the same, or you just wanted to hard code one certain user to a different SBM user. Okay, so with that said, with that change done, I'll show you how in our configuration XML file we went about this. So you scroll down to where we're doing our transform work in the previous video, and that's in this JavaScript stuff here. Since the last video, I've added a few more log info areas just to put some more variables into the log. It just makes it easier to debug. But the one that's going to help you the most is if you scroll down to this line right here. You're probably going to have this line in your transform as it is, and what we really need to do is just take the raw subject, and this is that line that's in the log right now. It says subject being evaluated to, and we're going to put that in the log. So the key is whatever that subject is what needs to go into that that conversion, this mapping file. Okay, in my case, so I've made that change, and when I look back in my log after I've restarted things, I kind of just cheated it a little bit here, but this is what the log looks like after that. What it does, it comes through and it spits my same subject out, okay, and then it doesn't even make it through the transform part anymore. It just skips it, and then it says, hey, the user being returned is admin, and that's coming from that other file. So you'd use this kind of situation when, like I said before, when you have two users with the same transformed login name, and you need to be able to differentiate the two. And that's about all there is to that one. That I think the important takeaway in a lot of this configuration file is to just put as many variables and things like that out into the log so you can see exactly what's going on. And I always use this log.info. And that's about it. So again, just have that subject line, make sure that matches what's in your key, and that should help.